Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio begins now. Hear the best in new music, artist interviews, stories from the road, and more. You are now backstage, and here's your host, Mothership.
Hey everybody, my good friend Miggy Sanchez's band, Relent, just dropped their new EP, World War Me. So let's hear about it.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome.
Knew it was coming. Finally dropped the new EP, World War Me.
It's here.
So I texted you and asked, are you going to do an interview with me? And you said, no. Psych.
It was all love, I promise.
I know it.
I was being a silly goose.
So tell us a little bit about the music and what's happening.
It's here. It dropped April 7th worldwide. March 24th, we released the lead single from the EP, which was Soldier. And the feedback was tremendous. There's still people that are just now hearing it, which is crazy, but it's super cool. It was a super, super dope feedback. So April 7th comes along a week and a half later, and the EP drops, World War Me. And so my DMs are plenty full. Probably my favorite part about releasing new music is like the response you get. Not that they're trying to feed my ego or anything. It's just, you work so hard on something, you put a lot into it, and then to know that people are enjoying it and that it's touching their lives and it's working in just different ways. This is the best part. I love being saturated in emails and DMs.
It's like, they like it too.
They like it too. I like it too. We're friends. So yeah, no, it's been absolutely amazing to see the response. I'm so happy for it.
Well, Soldier, I mean, that is amazing.
That was intense, man. That was an intense song. And it was actually the first song we wrote when we got to the studio to record this EP. I had probably 6 or 7 pre-pro tracks already. I knew I was going in for an EP, not a full album. So I already had 7 or 8 tracks that I wanted to kind of touch into. And Soldier was one of those songs that were like, nah, we'll get to those later. Let's start from scratch. So me and my producers just sat there and just went from scratch and just came up with this idea. Wrapped around, the Soldier theme. And so Soldier was the first song, first night in the studio, and we're like, we got our first song. And that's what Soldier was. So it was intense. I love it.
Wow. Tell us something about Bodies.
Yeah, Bodies is pretty in your face lyrically and musically. It's very much doing what I've done before, but I guess maybe on another level for me. It's just the further I get into this game, in the industry and even in ministry and the church and the world in general, the corruption is deep, and the corruption's never painted with red devil horns and a sword. It's always painted really pretty. And some of the stuff I've been able to encounter it breaks my heart, man. But I think it's just, I feel the need to call it out for what it is, and it's demonic and it's ugly and it's disgusting. And so Bodies is that song that, it's one, I'm calling it out. It's a war against the demonic things that are going on in all the industries of the world. But it's also a promise to never stop swinging in that direction until it ends. So that's Bodies.
All right. Strangers,
man. So World War Me has this theme of, obviously, when you hear or see World War Me, it's like, okay, you think World War III, you think end of the world, you think, those thoughts naturally come to mind, at least for me, so I'm pretty sure, and because I'm so normal and average, that the average person is thinking them too. And so Strangers is a song that I've come to the realization that, not recently, just in my walk, with the Lord, just it's one of those things like, man, some of the closest people that I know, that I love, that I cherish being with, simply are not going to be there when I get there with Jesus in heaven. And that breaks my heart, and for some of us, that's moms, that's dads, that's aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, but that simply denied Jesus or lived in a way that they thought was according to, what God had said as far as the standard goes. And it wasn't, and it's just like, gosh, dang it, that breaks my heart so much to know that my loved ones, the chorus says, all we had in anchor now belongs to strangers. Is everything that we have, that the memories and all these things are no longer anything. You know, it's like we're strangers because we can't be in the same place together. And it was
Wow.
really,
Pretty
it's
heavy.
not, yeah, it's pretty heavy topic, man. But that's just where the world's at and where the world's going. If you look around, man, we're headed there quick. And so the realization, the reality of what's to come, and it really has been setting in my heart. And as an artist, you know, it's in my heart, so I'm gonna write about it. So that's where strangers came from.
World War Me.
Yeah, so World War Me, man. World War Me was a song that came later in the recording session. For me, I'm always a stickler for title tracks, and I love having a track that kind of embodies the identity of the album, I guess, or you know. And so with Heavy, I had Heavy, and Heavy was kind of that song that really took on the picture of what I was trying to sing for the album. And so the same thing goes for World War Me. It embodies what this album is about, you know, and there's this internal battle that for me at least has gone up a notch, and I've felt the flames turn up, and it's made me uncomfortable, but I think that's a good thing. You know, I think growing is part of you being uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable to grow. And so, you know, just where I'm at in my life, man, just and what I see in the world going on, like it's very uncomfortable right now. But there's room for growth, there's room for learning. And so What We're Me really describes the internal battle of knowing what's to come and knowing I have to face it, still being scared because I'm human,
Right.
and but still going through with it and knowing that I've been called to victory in the end. So that's World War Me.
Amen.
Sirens. What a surprise that was. You snuck something a little different in there, didn't you?
I did. I love that Relent is able to go down different lanes of creativity and it still fits what we do. You know, it still embodies what we represent musically. And I just love being creative. And I'm so blessed to have producers that carry my vision for the band so well that when it comes to things that seem left field, they're able to make it still relent. So big kudos to them for really pushing me to be uncomfortable, like I said, in the studio and doing things I've never done. But I love R&B. I love stuff like that. So to be able to do a track that was pretty much strictly R&B, kind of trip hop stuff, was super cool. But it's very, it's Simons was a fun song, but it was still very meaningful in regards to tying into, you know, just the times that we're in and the end times and then the things that are to come, you know, for what's going on in the world. It's very much one of those songs where I feel like the chorus embodies that song where it says, "So I cry again, will you let me in? Because I followed my heart and you followed your plan. Now my ending is rest and your ending's a mess." And it's just, again, the reality of, man, people I love dearly, you know, no matter how much I love them, no matter how much I try to represent what God is in my life to them, they simply just choose the opposite, you know? And it's just so heartbreaking to me. It really sucks, honestly. There's no other way to say it. It sucks because these are, you know, relatives and people that I adore that are choosing to live this way. And just, again, just the reality of those days are to come. They're like right around the corner, and we're going to see people that we cherish perish. And it's such a hard thing to talk about, but I really feel like in regards to people getting that thought process that aren't believers, maybe, it's putting the fear of God in them in a good way and knowing that you don't have to go down this road. There's another way, you know? And so that's why I'm so comfortable with being real and, you know, talking about the shaky subjects that I feel aren't really highlighted too much in music. So
How do you take such a sucky subject and make it so poetic?
I don't know, man. I just it's part of the gifting, I guess. And I say that humbly because God has just gifted me to be able to translate things musically in a way. I mean, like you said, the subjects are really harsh. It's not like I'm going easy. I'm not singing
Right.
about joy. I'm actually singing about hell and what's to come to this world. And it's just, I don't know, man. God has just gifted me in such a way. And in actuality, it's God being generous and being just, what's the word I'm looking for? Compassionate towards his people and using Relent as such an art that you know, can speak to people in a specific way. So I'm just grateful for it. It's so dope. I love the way it works.
It's amazing. So many talented people in this industry that can do that. What do you want people to come away with World War Me?
Understanding that, man, Relent, you can rely on us to always be real. And I've said that in so many interviews, and I almost get tired of saying it. But like, I'm never going to be anything that people want me to be. I think I've tried that, especially early on in my walk. It was just like, okay, well, I got to be this guy, and I got to sound like this, and I got to look like this. And it was like, no, it really felt like the more I tried to be authentic me, which is what God created, the better results I got. And I mean, I got a lot of pushback, don't get me wrong, but I just want people to understand that these topics that I'm speaking on, that they're real. They're just real. I don't know. It's so hard to put into words sometimes.
Maybe if you put it into a song.
Exactly. Yeah. Give me a song. I could probably make it sound way better. But no, man, it's a fun album. It's only a 5-song EP. And I know a lot of the comments have been like, well, we want more. That wasn't enough. And I think it was kind of intentional to have it set up that way to where we wanted them to want more. But the EP does buy us time to transition. That buys us time to produce and prepare and all these things, man. And man, I want people to know that they got our heart laid out in these 5 songs. And so there's plenty more coming, I promise you. But I hope they enjoy What Were Me for the time that it is here.
Well, we know we have it on the streaming platforms, but you've got actual packages.
I do. They're actually right next to me.
Oh,
here.
see?
I got a whole case of these here.
Oh, nice.
So I got to send you one.
Hard
I think
copy.
I still have your address. I'll send you one.
Oh, please, because I need one.
Yeah, I got you.
So you have hard copies?
I do have hard copies, and they can be found at relentband.com right now. And relentband.com, you can purchase one. We'll ship it out, and yeah, get it.
You got any T-shirts?
We do. So we have a whole merch store that's about to be launched. Was supposed to be launched on April 7th, but if you've been following us, you knew that we were in Mexico that whole weekend, and I had zero communication with anything regarding work, email, band, anything. It was horrible. So I fell behind on emails, which fell behind with my confirmation with the merch people we're working with, and so it just put everything behind. So it was my fault. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, hopefully by the time this airs, it'll be up and running, ready to go. So tell us about Mexico.
Mexico was fun. That was Relent's first international gig, though it was only an hour and 45-minute flight from where we live in Texas.
You're already almost in Mexico.
We're almost in Mexico. So we basically went to our neighbor's house. And so,
right.
But it was really awesome. And I think that the greatest thing that came out of that was understanding the influence that we carry. And we get to Mexico and to see what was there, the fan base and the influence as it was like, holy moly, this is crazy. Like, you just forget. You get so caught up in the works of everything and trying to perfect things. Like me, I'm such a perfectionist. I'm trying to perfect every little thing. And then I look up, I'm like, oh, people actually like this stuff. This is crazy.
It's a side effect making music for yourself, right?
Yeah. It's just, you just get lost in it, man. It's very easy to. And so it just really, really blessed us to see the fan base and to be in a different country where they're singing your lyrics and they're requesting songs from the crowd, and people wanted us to play, I mean, just so many songs they were just saying off the top of their head. And it was just like, wow, this is cool. So it was really cool. It was really, really cool to be there. So I'm glad we're there. And yeah, it was awesome. Any
cool interactions while you were there?
We did. We had a lot. We had a lot of demonic activity, which is something people don't want to hear, but there was a lot. There's quite a bit there for us as a band. But we did have a lot of cool interactions with there's a lot of younger kids there that liked us. And so we found it that parents were bringing like their 12, 13-year-olds, and they're like, yo, my daughter knows every word. Like, your music helps her get through school. And it's like, what? This is nuts. So there was so many cool stuff. It was again, I'm just super, super glad we got to go.
Tell me what the latest lineup is.
So the latest lineup is me as vocalist, obviously. We have Brandon on guitar, who's been with the band for a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think he was made official, I think last time we interviewed, right? I think last time we interviewed. Yeah. We have Gaston still on drums.
Okay.
And our 2 newest additions are Sal Dominguez, who plays with me in my other band, El Nino. He's the newest addition to Relent. And so is Damian Munoz, who goes by DM Refugee on his social medias. And he's playing bass for us right now. And I mean, he's an older cat, but he's got a lot of wisdom, a lot of years under his belt in regards to ministry and music. And so it's just cool to have someone to relate to on that level. It's like a breath of fresh air to have the dudes we have that are on board. Just they're about the vision. They're ready to put in the work. And it's just super cool, man. So I'm really, really grateful they're here.
I met both of those guys in my living room.
Did you?
Yeah, Sal and DM were at the house.
Oh, yeah. See, they were just filling in at the time.
That's what I was saying.
Right.
I got to meet them, but I saw the other day the picture of DM, and I was like, looks like this is permanent.
Yeah, he's here for sure now. I love him. I love having him. That's right. They were with us on that trip when we played.
Yeah, Sal just crawled in and fell asleep most.
He was so sad. He had the probably most uncomfortable seat in that whole ride, so he was just looking to stretch out and go to sleep.
So confused.
Yeah,
he gets out on a lot of the food too that way. But
yeah, that's true. I ate his portion, so we're good.
Yeah. That's cool. I'm glad to see that. Are you still having vehicle issues, or do we ever get that resolved? Have you got a vehicle fund?
Yeah, we still have the GoFundMe up. We probably should repost that now that you mention it. But we're just, man, we're believing for something crazy to happen. And, through our private prayer life, God has revealed that he's going to provide, so we're just waiting on the moment. We know what's coming. We believe in faith. So we're still working at it. It's been a process, man.
Good deal. What would you say is the craziest thing that's happened this year so far?
That's a good question. You got me on that one. I wouldn't call it the craziest thing. I think just the fact that we're still around. I mean, I had lunch with a friend. It must have been like the first week of February, the beginning of the year. And he was just kind of asking, about the band and stuff. And I was like, yeah, we've been in band since, 2016. And he was like, dang, 2016? And I was like, dang, you're right. We have been in band for a minute. And so just the fact that we're here, I had one of those moments. I was like, oh, man, we're going on 8 years as Relent. And granted, people are just now finding out about us. And, it takes a long time to really get your name out there. And so I'm just grateful we're still here, honestly. I didn't know it would go this far. I didn't know we'd be meeting the people we did and doing what we're doing. And it's just really taking in all the small moments and just being grateful that we're still here. So that's the craziest thing, was knowing that I had this revelation of like, dang, I have been broke for 8 years. I mean, I have been putting this on for 8 years.
They're synonymous.
Oh, man, they go hand in hand. That's a whole nother podcast. I'll tell you that.
We know all these.
Yeah.
What have you got lined up this summer, this fall? Have you got anything you can talk about?
I don't know if I can talk about it. I mean, definitely Relent will be, like we always do, just grinding out dates just to be on the road. But there is some cool tours lined up that I think this is why I'm confused. We've been going live on social media, and then every live I get like 1 or 2 comments that says, hey, we'll see you on this date with so-and-so. And I was like, hey, that hasn't been announced yet. How do you know that that's coming up? And then I go to so-and-so's page and they haven't announced it. I'm like, man, someone's
playing you.
Someone's pulling my leg here, dude. Like, you're trying to make me spill the beans and get in trouble. But I will say we do have a really sweet tour lined up this fall with a really good band that I guarantee everybody knows. And there's more being locked up right now. And just like our usual years, we're really festival busy this year. We got a handful of festivals that we're attending and playing. And it's just really cool to see, like, I guess the trust in Relent move up, because it's one of those, like, every year we've played, we're moving up a slot time and we're getting better exposure. And so, yeah, there's some of that. And there's definitely a couple of big tour announcements coming up real soon that I'll be ready to talk about as soon as they give me the okay.
Reminds me of how you snuck into Uprise on Friday as opener that first year.
Yeah.
Level 1 volunteer band at the beginning.
Yeah, they're like, we can't pay you, but you come play. We're like, all right, we'll drive 2,000 miles to go play for 30 minutes.
They make you pay.
Yeah, I know, exactly right. But
pay to play.
Yeah, but again, those are just the sacrifices that it takes, man.
And then they let you play the next day, and then the next year they moved you up.
Got to play the next day and the next year. That was last year. And it was still hot. It was really hot.
I don't care what slot you got. It's hot over there. So you've got some things coming up. What's next for Relent?
Bigger and better. I think that's something we've always strived for. So I think there's come a time, and I think we're in a season now where we just have to do things different. And we've always just grinded, and done it. But I think now we're going into a season where things got to be a little more articulated and intentional in regards to just marketing and doing it right, and just moving forward with that part of it, even the business aspect of it, lining those up. So, man, we're just looking for bigger, better. Again, we're not trying to feed egos here. We're just trying to put what we have on the platform because we believe what we have is life changing, and so that's why we want to get there. So just, man, be looking out for just crazy announcements. Just be looking out for just stuff that you've probably never seen us do that we're going to do. And I think it's just, we're lining up the perfect time to do that. So
Nice.
yeah.
What about the challenges spiritually? What's the Lord doing in your life?
There's a lot. Again, I think World War Me, and it's funny because Relent has always had this thing that we've kept to ourselves, but we have seen the Lord. If you even look through our album titles specifically and some of the song titles, in the time they came out was almost like a prophetic, like, enhancement in our music, right? So, give you an example. You go back to like when Relent really got its wheels spinning. Is we signed a rock fest and then we had the single Low come out, right? And Low was like in the midst and the meat of a world pandemic. And so people obviously gravitated towards Low. I mean, it got spun crazily on major radios, and then it was just awesome to see. And then you go to Heavy, which was again just in the midst of this pandemic. People are just feeling a certain way, and Heavy related. Then you jump to where we're at now with World War Me, and you look at what's going on in the world. And I promise I don't intentionally do this. It's just literally like how it lines up in the real world, political conflict, all these things that are happening. They're all taking an effect on people who are seeing these things. And so it's just World War Me is very much a spiritual alignment, and in doing that, and us believing that what we have is going to change lives, you definitely come up against resistance. Like I said, we had that night in Mexico that, and I wish bands would talk about this more, like especially like spiritual Christian bands. It was like, oh, it's cool. You had a great night of, praying for people, but how was your sleep that night? Or tell me like what really happened. Like how was the warfare in that way? And for us, man, we've since the beginning have gone through just tremendous warfare. Like I have stories I could probably write a book on just the warfare we've experienced alone. And so it's when you sign up for this thing, and it's more than business to us and money and all these things. We signed up for war, and so it's tough. It's really tough being on the road. It's tough being one of those bands that has to fight through the secular, and to do it. But I know that's what we're supposed to be. But I love it. I love what we do.
There might be some people that don't know your background. Can you just give a brief testimony?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just a musician my whole life, man. Music was the only thing I knew. And I come from a broken home, just a broken kid that held on to music. and music, I don't want to say saved me, but it kept me alive definitely through the years of, before knowing Jesus. And it kept me on the road, kept me busy, but also got me in a lot of trouble. A lot of addictions came from it. A lot of alcohol addictions, sex addictions, drug addictions, stuff like that, man. I think Head calls it like the rock and roll testimony. It's like, that was me. Like I really had a life of just music, and I was touring the country and just being little rock star me. And God met me with his love, and it changed me forever. And I have never encountered a love like the love I did when I found Jesus. And so, long story short, he pulled me out of the secular world. I gave up music, started serving the church, and was just content there. Called me back into music. And it's been a crazy journey because now, I've obviously started Relent in 2016, and we're 8 years down the line. But even in the midst, has even taken it a step further and put me back into the secular world. So I'm also able to be a light there. And it's just like, it's crazy. I think we see it a lot, like people like Head and Tommy Green, and just these really big leaders of the industry, and how God has changed their life, but he's left them where they are in regards to, their work and stuff like that. And it's just, my life is still, it's a constant testimony. There's things constantly happening, but that's pretty much my life right now. So
I would think you and Brian would vibe pretty well together.
I love the dude. He texted Damien yesterday, and he was like, dude, Soldier's the best Relent track I've heard. And And then because Damien knows how, I'm very words of affirmation. So when I get them and they come from people that I like admire, it's like, I'm pretty dark, but if you could see it, I get really red. So if I was your skin tone, I'd be a lobster. I'd just be like boiling, like, golly gee whiz.
I forgot DM knew Brian really well, didn't he?
Yeah, they're super close, man. So he reached out. He was just telling me he's killing it, and that's my favorite Relent track. And I was just like, oh, golly gee whiz. But it's just really cool. It's dope to know that we've had the support we've had, even just in these past 4 days. We've had Sunny from POD reshare it on Instagram. Tommy from Holy Name, Head, obviously. It's the people that are shouting it out that we admire and that we looked up to, not just in music and the faith, and to see that they get it. So it's really dope.
That is amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm so happy for you, Miggy.
Thank you so much.
It's going to touch a lot of people.
It already is, yeah. And I think it's just the beginning stages of that. So we're ready for whoever wants to hear it.
With Relent, you can cross over with the general market and Christian market, but you also do El Nino on the side. Do you want to just give a quick plug to El Nino?
Yeah, dude. So El Nino is obviously a mainstream band. If you know anything about new metal music, they were up there with Korn back in the early 2000s. They really started the engines to this new metal thing, man, and they kind of mastered it, made it their own. So I was always a fan. So to be given the opportunity to be a part of not just the industry, but just that specific band in general was really a dream come true for me. And it's just really cool how it's taken on a brotherhood, and they know where I come from. They know what I represent, and they're just receiving of that. And so me just believing that, God's going to do something awesome. And he is, and he already is. Yeah, there's plenty of fruit. And so I'm pretty sure people will hear about that soon, but it's just wild. I love what I do with Domino. They're an amazing group of dudes, very talented, and just it's just so cool. I've got to see the world because of them, so I'm excited.
How is that switching from one to another?
As far as band goes,
like switching from Relent to El Nino.
Well, with Relent, I always perform like I'm performing for one, right? So, but for me, that performance is at an extreme, and you've seen me, like I'm like dying by the time I get on stage. And
you give it all you got.
I give it all I got, and that's just my heart for the Lord. And that's why I love when Scripture says, "Do everything as you're doing it to the Lord," right? And so you see that from me on stage. And so the only difference between Relent and El Nino is that with El Nino, I'm playing in front of 20,000 people, and so it's just like people are actually seeing the moment, and not that Relent, if Relent ever gets there, that's amazing, but not that would change anything. So nothing really changes other than the outside perspective. I'm still giving it my all. It's a job, so just how people clock into work, I clock in at El Nino, and I give it my best. I do my all and represent God in that way as far as what he's gifted me with in music. So
I can underscore that because I haven't seen you play with El Nino, but I've seen you play to a small crowd and I've seen you play to a bigger crowd. It doesn't matter how many people there. You'd be there by yourself doing it.
Well, what's funny is in this room right here that I'm in is actually, it was our garage that got converted into a bedroom. Yeah. Yeah. And this is like my practice room. And so you'll catch me in here full, like the way you see me on stage, I do that in here too. And I just prepare myself for tours and stuff like that. And so I'm a really big believer in practice how you play.
Yeah. Well, and when I think of that show in South Carolina where you like just sprawled out on the cab afterwards.
Man, that was like 110 degrees. And yeah, that was insane. It was woof. But yeah, that was
you're going to have a stroke, man.
No, I wasn't. I was. And then you brought that pudding over and I was like, oh, this will fix it.
Where are my gummy bears?
Yeah. I need some sugar in my life. That's what I need.
That's right. I'm not sure if it was your wife fanning you or if it was the banana pudding, but you did survive.
Well, she'll hear this podcast, so we'll say a little bit of both. It was a little bit of both.
Okay. Okay, for sure. Oh, man. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we go?
Man, we're super excited to get back on the road. That's one thing that Relent has always thrived in, is just being on the road. And like you said, whether we land at a club and it's 10 people or 100, we're still going to go off. So, yeah, be looking out for us on the road. We're definitely going to be hitting it hard this year.
Message for your fans.
I love you guys. You guys have been the best support for the past 8 years. And just, man, thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for holding in and believing in us. For every penny that was donated, man, dearly appreciate it to get us, food, a hotel or gas, whatever it was. We thank you guys. But, man, we're not done. We got a lot coming for you. So we're going to see you out there real soon.
Well, you have a great night.
Thank you for having me.
Good night, Miggy.
Good night. Love you, Cindy.
Love you too. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more great music and check out my blog page on the Solid Rock Radio website for my guests' social media links. If you've missed any of my past interviews, you can find them uploaded to podcast.solidrockradio.org. Have a wonderful week, and let's be kind to one another.